Hello folks, I'm Ed Overstreet and welcome to the Night Sky Imaging channel. We are going to be imaging the sun again today and trying a time lapse. And this is not so guaranteed as I've tried doing this for the last week. I've had about 4 mornings or maybe 5 when the skies were just ice blue when I got up, not a cloud. And by the time I got some work stuff done, and I need to get started by 10 o'clock because I need to get about 3 hours in before the transit, which is around 1 o'clock. And I'll keep in on the keeping usually about 2 hours of images uh, as I have to cull those that are so affected by seeing that they're eyeball rejects. But that being said, I took a tour of the sun earlier, and I thought, wow, it looks like we are going to have clear skies this morning. But there isn't a whole lot going on the sun. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to image it. I'm just so hard up for something to do, and because clouds have just killed us this summer. Just no imaging time at night, like none. Uh, so I've been making these videos just to uh, any subject I could think of to make a video just to kind of stay in the astro mood. But anyway, I've gone outside and just looked at my telescopes and looked at the sky, and I thought, hey, maybe I ought to be a cloud photographer. Maybe then they would go away. And as a matter of fact, I've done about 100 time lapses of the sky with clouds. I even hooked up the lightning detector because afternoon thunder showers and lightning uh, is a regular occurrence. And I did get some killer lightning shots in this summer. I'll use those when I composite some posters for a school I shoot sports for. Um, by the way, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I retired as a financial planner uh, over a dozen years ago, and my first retirement was in 2000, and then but I ended up partnering with a friend, and we built an organization locally, and then I retired from that in around 2009. And I've always been a photographer, hobbyist, and but I've also for the last 35 years I've done sports photography for a local high school where my wife worked and my kids went to school, and so I still do that, and and I do other sporting events with. Depending on whether or not the Herald Journal needs a photographer, or I get a call from someone to cover a game. And but for the most part, I just hang around a local high school and shoot football, baseball, basketball, and all that. So yeah, all that's heating up now. And what's going to happen is that I'm going to have a lot of nights where I'm going to be there and not here, and we're going to have clear skies instead of cloudy skies. So this summer would have been perfect, but as is the case with South Carolina, not everything works out. So with that being said, let's head over to the sun and see what damage we can. Before we do that, I wanted to show you the gear that I'm using. The telescope on the bottom is the Astrotech 65 EDQ. And I know you can't see my pointer. I don't know why. I just know you can't. So I'm over here pointing and it's not doing any good. But I'm looking at the telescope at the bottom, and where you see the refractor, uh, the green attachment to the refractor is a Moonlight electronic focuser. And then you have an extender, and attached to the extender is the Quirk chromosphere by Daystar. And it's a poor man's solar kit, But I'm telling you guys, what I like about the quark chromosphere over solar scopes is that if I chose to, I could swap that quark chromosphere with other refractors, with other fields of view, and get different perspectives of the sun. And for that, I think the versatility of it and the fact that it's so efficient, because you can get both the surface activity, and you can also get activity on the rim, and you can get that in one picture, as we've done in the past in some prior videos. Um, so I really like that kit. And then there is a Daystar tilt adapter, and there are other makes other than Daystar that are a whole lot less expensive, but the Daystar by far has totally eliminated the Newton rings that I was getting on this 174 ASI camera, which is the camera that's attached to the 65 EDQ by Astrotech. And then on top of that is the Solar Scout, and Daystar also makes that, and it's a 60 millimeter refractor with a helica focuser, and then attached to that is the equivalent, but it's built in. It's the equivalent of a quark chromosphere, and there's no need for a. I don't have Newton rings on that, and I either have another 174 camera attached, but I think I put the 533 color camera on this just to play around with it. But today I'm not playing around. Today I'm serious about getting a time lapse, and I'll show you in just a few minutes. Well, I'll show you now why. So this is what's going to be used, this bottom telescope. By the way, that rig runner power unit that's velcroed into the side of the rig there on the saddle, I no longer use those. They are great. You can make your own cables easily enough and connect. I mean, they're great. And I may go back to it one day. I have the power supply on one side, and then on the other side I have a USB hub, so that you can do a pretty good job of cable management. But as you can see, I don't care about cables dangling everywhere with the solar kit. I'm not guiding. I just make absolutely certain and sure that these cables aren't snagging. And although I'm inside, there's not a real need to have precise cable management like you do with your deep sky rigs. So with that, let's head on and share my screen so we can get started. And this is the baby, and we're going to get rid of our crosshairs here because we're going to reset them in a minute. If I can find the pull down, we don't need them. And let's take a ride around the sun. This is a live view of the sun, and let's bring this hand control over here. Also, not only do we have to worry about clouds, but for some reason over the past week, I've had some issues with either the laptop or my gear because it's been freezing up. So was it yesterday? It was either yesterday or the day before, after freezing up during a live stream session. I went ahead and changed the cable from the hand controller, the serial cable with the FIDA chip, to the from the hand controller to the Pegasus Ultimate Power Box, which is what I use now. And also, what else did I put in a new power supply, a power line from the mount to the Pegasus, and I swapped out some cables that I knew could be the culprits. And 99% of the time, that's where the issues are. And they're in the heat, they're in the cold, they're in the weather, because mine stay out all the time. And you can't tell me that 100-degree weather And right now at the mount, um, it is 92 degrees, and it's one of the cooler days, and the dew point's 68. A very, not as humid as it was, but it's still humid. So let's head around the sun. We're going to be together. Those of you who are going to ride this out, uh, I will probably be doing this for a 3-hour period. So Facebook may knock me off. I don't know that they like. I'm just looking at the surface. Don't pay any attention to my dust, sensor dust. These spots right here, when you move the mount, and if those don't move, then it's stuff that's collected on your sensor. All right, we're going to go back and forth between overexposed and underexposed just to look at the rim as well as the surface. So we're going to go from 10 milliseconds to, let's make it 70 milliseconds. So we're going to go back and forth from 10 to 70. So now let's scroll down some. I gotta get the hang of this, you know me. And there's not a lot going on there. Let's check the surface. Oh, hold on, guys. Hold on, I'm coming. Oh, you know, this is the holy smokes. This is the rest of the that giant mega flare. Well, get it right, Ed. Okay. Yes, this is good stuff here. Let's see if there's something on the surface worth looking at. Nothing. That's the problem with my restricted field of view, is that in order to get this surface activity, I'm going to have to settle for nothing on the actual surface. But you know, why not? Let's continue going around. We may have some more stuff. Although this solar flare has been pretty evasive. We're down here. Come on, come. Well, let's see. Can we frame here? Let's see what we got going on the surface. We're trying to find something to time lapse. Oh, if only those sunspots, if only those dust spots were something on the moon we could reference. Not a daggone thing. All right, let's go back to 70. And well, they're trying to help me by, let's go back to 10 milliseconds. Really? Nothing on the surface going on? Oh, yeah. Ay, 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 ay. 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 This is nuts. All right. I'm thinking, guys. I'm thinking. Um, well, let's continue going around. Hmm. Let's overexpose. And I didn't even bother to check the sound levels. I could be totally mute and not know it. I got the headphones on and it's sounding good, but if you've ever streamed, you know what I'm talking about. Hang on a minute, I'm going to check those real quick. That would be crazy. Surely someone would have sent me a message. If you're watching this and can hear me, can you? Uh, yeah. Okay. We're good. We're good. We're good. Let's head on up here to. Uh, well. What do you know? Well. Let's go to 10. No, 10, not 100. Oh, yeah. Guys, we're going to be able to have our cake and eat it too. There's my activity on the surface I want. And let's bring it over some. Wrong way. South is moving the sun left. All right, let's try here. And let's overexpose to 70 milliseconds. And we got this, and this, and this. And okay, bingo, we're here. We have found a place to park this thing, and let's start. Let's set up a time lapse. Let's make sure we've got everything connected. Let's go to our hardware. My moonlight's up. My mount's on. Okay. Let's go to, why did I close that out? File names. We do have to change. The last time I imaged was on the 29th, or last time I tried to. So let's make a new folder. We're going to call this 830, 22 underscore S OLAR, and that works. You got to make sure you click apply or you're still working in the old directory. I always keep this checked. Create WinJuPost compatible file names. I don't need it for the sun. I'm not worried about sun rotation issues. If I take a 3-hour time lapse, you will see the sun rotate, but it's insignificant. A lot of people won't even notice it. I look for it when I can take one that long because it is there. But when you're doing planetary, you want to make sure you're using the WinJuPost compatible file names because it'll put the data in there that will allow WinJuPost to derotate your image. So just remember that when you're doing planetary, you want to create WinJuPost compatible file names. All right, we've got our hard drive set up. Let's go back to our 10 milliseconds, and let's make sure we got a good focus. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the step size to 10, and I'm going to go in, I'm going to focus in until it starts getting blurry. And I'm going to count the number of steps that well, not now, I'm just going to go in until it starts getting really blurry, like right there. So I've got a blurry image. Now I'm going to go out and I'm going to count my steps that I go out by 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I wanted to get it about as blurry as it was before when I went in. Now I went 19 steps, so I want to go back 8.5. So, or 9.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I'll change this to 5 steps. 9.5. All right. What I did, I went from blurry to blurry, and I counted the steps, and then I went back half as much. And that's probably as sharp as I can get it. It's just so hard, and you just got to kind of take note of how blurry was it. And so when you go back out, you make the other, um, if you go in and make it blurry, you got to make sure when you go out, it's as blurry. But it gets you so close that it's the best way I know to focus. Another way to help you focus is to come down to your histogram and grab this thing right here and start bringing it in till it gets really contrasty, and then zoom into like 100%. All you're doing is changing the histogram, and then play around with your focuser. This helps you to I think we're going to leave it right there. We're at 14,813 steps. So let's reset our histogram right here, auto stretch, and let's go back to auto and just a certain place. All right, I'm going to have to do what I hate to do. I'm going to put my crosshair, and I'm going to have to center it. I'm going to center it right here. What I've got to remember not to do is to accidentally click anywhere else on this image. I want to put this somewhere where I don't have to, I might not even use this hand controller. I may just use this one. In fact, I'm just going to stop this down at 4 stops, or 4 times sidereal. This is what causes me grief. I'll accidentally start to, I'll reach for it and I'll click right here, and look, it jumps up. I've requested that SharpCap make it possible to lock the crosshairs, but no one's paying any attention to me. All right, let's go back up to our exposure, and let's type in 70 again. Oh yeah, we got some things to work with up here. So by the way, they don't look as good as if you come down here and lower this and come up with the gain some. They look a little better when you kind of raise the gain, but we'll be able to bring some of that out, I hope. All right, let's bring our gain down here to about 100, and let's go up here to 14. Nope, too hot. 12, looks pretty good. And let's go look at our histogram. Yep. Okay, and since we're getting started, we'll just move our crosshairs. Let's go up and set our capture time to, we're going to do 300 frames. Scene is okay, so let's do 500. We're going to do 300 AVI files. So we're going to have 300 captures in this sequence of 300 different movie files. Each movie file will have 500 frames. And we are just going to give this sun, and let's get started, and let's use this as our reference. Okay, we are off and running. We are now taking our first, we've already taken it, and we're waiting 20 seconds between pictures. It's during that 20-second interval between movie files that I will nudge the mount. My goal now, from now on, is not to touch the screen, not to click anywhere inside of here. If I do, I'll move the crosshairs, which is my reference for recentering my sunspot in those crosshairs. I want to recenter and keep it in there as much as I can. Okay, and that's critical. I need to move it north, which is moving the crosshairs down just a little bit. Well, I waited too late because it started to capture. It doesn't take long to knock off 5 frames though. It's finished. So I'm going to come down again. So I moved it down, and I want it to go west a little bit. Once I get my crosshairs in, then it's pretty easy to keep the mount centered. The crosshairs, I know if I want to move the crosshairs down, I go west. If I want to move them north, if I want them to go down and to the right, I go west. Down and to the left, it's north. Up and to the left, it's east. And up and to the right, it's south. I have a little cheat sheet down here that I use right here that's got a diagram. So I keep that stuck to the my desktop. All right, we're finished. Now, this is where I also have made a mistake in the past and clicked in the wrong place and moved my crosshairs. I'm going to bring up the File Explorer, and I want to go down to this directory. I just want to double check that we're getting our images. Okay, so far we've got we got 5 images, and we're clicking along pretty good. Now, my crosshairs have moved. A lot of people like to go ahead and zoom in so that when they zoom in, it's easier to see where your crosshairs need to go. So we need to move south a little bit. Oh, said I knew what I was doing. I'm going to have to stop it. I've gotten it way off. Come on, mount. Now south. This happens all the time, so this is what you got to do. Get it recentered. I'm nudging them out, and then go up to your capture. Start your capture. We've taken 6. So now we're looking for 294, and then continue on. We're on our quest to have 300. We've taken 6. 7, I think. We'll make up for it the next time. 7, yeah. 7 down and working on our 8th one. 7 down and working on our 8th one. If you're just joining us, we have a live view of the sun, and we're making a best effort to get we're going to make a best effort to get a let's move it over, son. Okay, we want to go east. No, we want to go west. And recenter. We got a break here. Let's got to move it east. We got a break here. Let's got to move it east. We got a break here. Let's got to move it east. We got a break here. Let's got to move it east. We got a break here. Let's got to move it. I was working on something and didn't pay attention, so that video will end up getting cropped. So let's okay, ready for the next one. I hate having to delete these files. They're so hard to get. But when they're so far off, and the reason why it's important that you keep moving your mouse so that you recenter on your reference point is to minimize the cropping that the software will have to do when it starts stacking. See, what will happen when we're finished getting our movie files is each movie file, all those 500 frames, we're not going to keep all of them. We'll keep the best ones and we'll stack those into one image. And when you stack 100 or 200 of those into one image, you get a lot of detail. We're going to do that to all 300 of the files. Now, if this sun has moved all over the place because we didn't babysit it and recenter it with each AVI file, then in order to stack all of them into the final image, or stack all of them into a movie file like a time lapse, in order to do that, you're going to have to crop. And that's what I try to avoid doing, because we may end up cropping out our proms. And the cropping happens whether you like it or not. The software does it. So we need to go up a little bit. Before I finish this time lapse, I'll have this down. Okay. And when you pick a reference point like this and you're doing a 3-hour time lapse, there's no certainty that that spot's going to remain there. That's been there for 2 or 3 days. It's been going across the surface as it traverses the surface, as it rotates. But I have had reference points that were pretty faint that I did lose them in the course of the time lapse. And you just do your best. And before you ask, it is not necessarily good practice to use a prom, which means you'd have to overexpose it, and It's a lot easier to expose for the surface and bring the palms out than to clip and bring the surface out. I've not been able to do that. You can't clip. You can't clip your highlights. You can clip your darks, but you can't clip your highlights. There's information in these darks, but when you overexpose, there's no information in the clipped highlights. I've been there and done that. All right, let's move this west. We got 15 seconds to get down there. Another problem with these consumer mounts, consumer level mounts, is that, in fact, all mounts, with the exception of the observatory grade high-end mounts, have a certain amount of backlash, which means that when you start engaging the gears, it takes a split second for the gears to get into, to connect. There's some slop, and that's called backlash. But once you get it started, then they really get to moving. So you'll start nudging this thing, and all of a sudden it takes off. So that's just the way it do. The way it do. I did remember to turn the television off here so you're not hearing that racket. I can't believe I did a whole live video with the television on, and television's louder than me because the my boom microphone was swung way over near to the television speaker. Oh, Lord, I'm too old. Hope everybody's doing good today, and that all of your basic needs are being met. Everything else is a gracious plenty. Oh, we may have to go south for the first time. It's drifting. I expect a lot of drift in declination just because I know I'm not polar aligned. And I'd spent all of last year running this telescope, and it wasn't, well, I polar aligned at the beginning of the year. I ran the pole master out, and I did that at night. Can't do it in the daytime. But I have bumped it. It's on a tripod. The other two rigs that are out permanent are on piers. I know better than to do this, but I'm going to bring up the outside cameras real quick and show you what I mean. Not outside, the outside cameras. Let's see if we can connect. See my skies, how blue they are? There's some low-hanging clouds, but this is a permanent kit covered with a telegizmo, and this is a permanent, they're on piers. There's a platform that connects the two piers, and that's where my laptops stay, and I got towels thrown over it to keep the sun off of the laptops. They get hot enough. And this is the AVX, and these are the two solar scopes. It's hard to see those. And but this tripod, as I walk around it, I kick the leg all the time, so I just point it in the direction of north and babysit. Okay, and we're back. Oh, see, I went away, and look what I did. Let's get up there. Yep, got to stop now. I want to go east, and then I want to go north. I'm clicking it a little at a time. There we go. Nudging it back to center. And we're down to 6 seconds. And we're ready to take another 500 frames. And down here you can see how fast you take 500 frames. It's done, and now it's clocking again. We're at 24:20. We've got 274 more of these to take, and we got to recenter them out before 14 seconds. So we want to go west. And we're ready for this one. If you're watching, we're doing a live time lapse. Our goal, we do have a goal, and that is to show the activity on the rim. There's not a lot of major flaring going up on the rim, but it's all across the rim. There's bumps and flares, modest size. And then we have this region right here that's going to show real nice. Sometimes what I'll do if I don't have anything on the prom is that I will just focus on this region, and then I zoom way, I cut right into it. I crop right into real close, so you can see the movement around it real close. It doesn't have the sharpness and clarity because of the crop, but it's pretty cool science just to see the surface action. The thing about the time lapse, there's a lot of movement going on with this. Looks like a brain. This is plasma that's heated plasma that's floating, that's moving around on the surface, and you can't see any movement. But when you do 3 hours time lapse, and then you put it together in a movie, that's when you can see the movement. That's why I do the time lapse. Okay, we got 17 seconds to move west, which is, I need to actually, I went too far, I knew I did. And I need to move north just a nudge. All right, showtime. A lot of solar images will take more than 500 frame AVI files or SER files. You can take AVI or SER. If I was doing planetary, I would probably take SER files. It matters not to me if I'm taking these short exposures. But let's go east. And I almost waited too late. That's the problem when you talk. I can't talk and do this. Where'd that come from? That'll mess you up too when you get these pop-ups and you click on the pop-up. That'll move your crosshairs if you're not careful. Beware of pop-ups. Hate pop-ups. Okay. Really a cool live view of the sun. Um, I mentioned earlier, but these dark areas have nothing to do with the sun. This dirt that's on my optical train. These they don't look like smudges. They're more precise uh, dirt particles. Those are on the sensor. These are somewhere else, either on the IR UV cut filter. There's a thin filter. It could be on the quark chromosphere. But let me recenter them out here very quickly. I need to go south a little. And west. No, east. Yep. In time. Welcome, Josh Altman, who's just subscribed. Thank you, Josh. We're on a live view of the sun, and we're trying to do a time lapse. Right now, we've got 263 images to go. We have a goal of 300. I have a time frame of between now 10:45 to 1 o'clock to get it in. My Fitbit watch told me I need to get 242 steps in the next hour. Well, that ain't going to happen because I am not leaving this. I'm going to go outside real quick and let's look at our skies. Oh, yeah. Still clear. Ice blue. I don't know what this stuff is off in the distance, but just hope it stays off in the distance. And over here to the right is the solar kit that I'm using. I keep this patio umbrella up. These telegizmos, 365 now, don't confuse them. Get the 365, which just means that you can keep your gear up 365 days a year. And I buy these over again about every 3 years. About every 3 years, the inside will start tearing. And I'll just buy another telegizmo. They are so affordable when you compare it to taking your rig out every night and bringing it in every night. I have 2 permanent piers. Our homeowners association, when I built this, did not allow outbuildings. Now they do, but the outbuilding has to have the same roof as your home, the same siding, or same. If you got a brick home, it has to be brick. You have siding, it has to have the same siding. And at my age, I see no point. These telegizmos have been up during hurricanes. We're in South Carolina and we get them. We get the winds, the high winds, 50, 60, 70 mile an hour winds. We've had a tornado tear down through. Now, if a tornado hit my backyard, we're gone. But the effects of the tornado that is less than a mile away, that tore up a strip all the way through Spartanburg 4 years ago, hail, wind, whatever, rain, you couldn't see your hand in front of you. These things stayed put, and all 3 of them stay covered year round. I folded this telegizmo up. It's underneath the tripod, but it covers it. This is the biggest one. It covers almost all the way to the patio, brick patio. I have a brick wall. You see this tub sitting on it. I can sit on the brick wall and work on my laptops. And I keep 3 laptops for my 3 kits. I have a laptop for each kit just so that the ports don't get confused. I don't know enough about computers to straighten that crap out. So I just use a computer for each port, plug them in the same exact. Well, I use the Pegasus, which stay plugged in exactly the same every time. So I just plug the one data cable coming out of the Pegasus into a laptop for here, and now I never use 3 at a time anymore, but I do image 2 at a time. And tonight I'll be live. I meant to mention that. Tonight I'm on a live image Saturn and Jupiter with this Smith Cassegrain, and I'm going to do some wide field imaging. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to image, and I'll bet my sun has moved. Let's go back. Okay. It moved, but we're going to go ahead and deal with it. I'm going to have some cropping I didn't want, so let's go ahead and let it take this picture and let's babysit it, move it back. We're going to need to go east, and we're back. Yeah, I expect I'm getting a lot of I'm getting a lot of drift in RA and in deck. So, and for aiming the telescope, rather than using a software program to help you pull a line like PoleMaster, which is what I use, for just aiming it and dialing in the latitude, it's actually done. It's actually doing pretty good. And I took the telescopes in sometime in early June. The last time I imaged was June 4th, and then I saw where we were going to have clouds and rain for a 2 week period. So I took the mounts in and I took them all apart and re-greased the worms. Got some new bearings, ceramic bearings for the AVX. That was AVX was a beast to take care of. I dreaded it, and that's this mount. And then I just put them back up about 2 weeks ago. There wasn't a single night I could have imaged though. What I did is I went back over years of data that I never processed, and I had some fun practicing and processing old data. One thing about keeping your data, keeping your calibration files, is that when software like PixInsight comes out with some new tweaks, I better move this, stop talking for a minute. Let's see. I need to go south a little bit and then west probably. No, that's good. Um, PixInsight gets revised all the time, and that's my software of choice, that and Photoshop. And Photoshop's getting updates every day. And then I use Nix software, and they get updates. And I use Topaz software, and they get updates. So it's always good to go revisit some of the good data that you had in the past and see how well you do against your new techniques and your. Oh, I better pay attention again. Here we go. North. Come on, North, move. Too late. We're imaging. Now we'll move. And we're going to have to go west a little bit. Not a lot. Okay, and east. Alrighty, we're set up for the next one. You can kind of see the reason why I like a 25-second interval between images. It gives me enough time to nudge the mount and recenter it inside. This is my reference point, and I'm using these crosshairs to keep me on point. If you're just joining, we've got a, hopefully we're going to get a 300 video, a 300 AVI file sequence, and we'll end up with close to 300 pictures that we'll be able to put into a time lapse. If you saw earlier, there's a lot of surface activity on the rim, and it's pretty cool. See, we need to go north just a little. There we go. Okie dokie. It sometimes looks like the focus has gotten sharper. I haven't changed the focusing. It's the seeing conditions. They've improved. They surely have improved. As a matter of fact, what I want to do is I want to bring up a software program real quick here. Let me find, and I want to go to see what scene looks like there, and scene. See, we're at 11 o'clock. Yeah, scene is rated above average right here, so And then tonight, look at tonight, guys. I've got a football game Friday I have to photograph, but I don't think I have anything Thursday night. But Friday I have a football game, so I'll have to be back there. Uh, let's go back to our sun. And let's recenter. We're going to have to go east. We got 12 seconds. Oh, went fast. And it's time to, well, we're going to have to wait till it finishes, but it's time to move our mount west. And south. Now east. There we go. And with 8 seconds to spare, we've taken 48 images, 48 videos, and let's see, we're going to have to move south here real quick and east. There we go. Ah, see how it looks like it focusing. It went out of focus. Well, it didn't go out of focus. It's still focused, but the scene between my sensor and the sun did have I think I just about have these figured out, these this virtual hand controller figured out. I need to reorient. I need to move my rotate my camera because it isn't where it's supposed to be. Excuse me. While this image is going to happen, I want to go over to and let's look at this. Let's bring up our sun forecast and let's look at the sun 3 minutes ago. This is where I'm imaging. I'm imaging right here. Doop, boop, 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 boop. So this is what we're going to be looking at. This is a 3-minute old snapshot of the sun. And let's go back to, and let's see what the video looks like. And play it. Yeah, we got to have some, there's some stuff going on down here. Yay. And up here too. Oh, this problem up here is still acting up. I just wish there was something on the surface that I could, yeah, that's perfect. That would be a great, oh, look at that. That thing's going nuts. I may come back this afternoon. Look, it's arcing too. I hope you can see this. If not, go to gong2.nso.edu and bring up this image of this prom that's arcing. That thing's going up. 60, 70, 80,000 miles. Wow. This is a time lapse, by the way. And you can see the rotation over the last 24 hours. And then when it stops and jumps, that's when it hit nighttime in Chile, Toledo, Chile. That's where this solar camera is. Okay, I wonder how far we've. Oh, boys. They're going to have to get this back here quick. We're going to lose this one. So let's nudge it east and north. Can't leave it alone long. And west a little bit. Let's see, that was 235, so that was number 64, number 64, video number 64, probably 63, 64, and I'll delete 63, 64, make a note, here's my notes. 63, 64, take a good note. I'd rather delete them than have software crop out some of them. I may try both. If they turn out to be good videos, I may make a movie with them. And if they turn out to jump all over the place, when I blink them, I'll know it. I'll delete them. As soon as AutoStacker, which is the software that I use, as soon as AutoStacker does its thing. By the way, I wonder if I could possibly pull off the processing of one of these images while we're doing this. We're going to try. So I'm going to bring up AutoStacker, and I got to do this without moving my crosshairs. Okay. And we're going to open up. Oh crap, I haven't taken any flats. I tell you what I can do. I can use flats from 2 days ago because I haven't moved them out. So let's bring up today, the 30th. And let's just bring up the very first picture. And let's now go to image calibration and let's load a master flat. And we're going to load one from yesterday or the other day. Yeah, I moved them out. No, I didn't move this one. I've picked up dirt since then, so I need new flats. Crap. All right, well, it's just going to have to work. And then, so these are my settings. Just take a screenshot of them. Let's go. And while that's processing that, I need to go back and make sure I'm moving them out because we're doing north, 17 seconds, too far, south, and west, and south, east. That's close enough for government work. Okay, now let's go back outside and see, let's go to AutoStacker and see where we are. Normally I would scrub through this image and look for the best reference, but I'm just showing you how I do this. It's always good to move your box over to a reference point before you analyze so that it can, in fact, let's do that. We got all day. I hold down the command or the control point. You can scroll through here, scrub through. You're looking for a sharpen. That's good. Now let's analyze. And let's go back to, while it's analyzing, then let's head south. Just doing two things at one time meet my strength. Doing one thing at a time is a struggle at times. Hope everybody's doing well today. It's the middle of the week. I love being retired, although I do a lot of sports photography for a living, and I also run the help run the Fair Force, the FFMS Observatory. We've just got new equipment in, a 14-inch edge, a stellar view refractor, a Paramount mount, and we're waiting on, actually the only thing we're waiting on, I think, electronic focusers. We got new guide cameras, new guide scopes. We got a whole new for the dome, the observatory, and so the next couple of weeks, when we have all our equipment, we'll be installing that. That observatory is for a middle school in our district. They have their own planetarium, seats 105, I think. Unbelievable laser shows. Unbelievable. It serves the whole district, District 6 schools, but we built the new middle school, and when we did that, we put the observatory planetarium in. And I do the photography for District 6 schools. Okay, I'm talking and forgetting what I'm doing here. We want to do, well, we're imaging right now. But when we're done, we want to move east. Maybe a nudge north just a little. And east again. North a little more. Here we go. And it's capture time. Let's go back to auto stackered. And it's done. And it's telling me that we've got very few images below 50%. This is the 50% quality line. So it crosses over up here around it. Well, if this is 25%, 50, 75%, 100% of your frames, this graph represents each one of the 500 frames. And above this is in the top, all of these up here in the top 75%. So I'm going to keep, out of 500 frames, I'm going to keep 40%. I could keep 50% of them. I mean, almost 80% of them are above the 50% line. I could keep that many, but I don't want to. In fact, I'm going to keep 30%. And I'm going to put a grid. I always, on solar, I always use 104. That means that each box is 104 pixels by 104 pixels. And so now I'm going to stack them, save in folders. Drizzle, I do not. I don't RGB. This is a mono stack. All right, so we're stacking them. Let's go back. Oh, look here. We stayed on point. I lost nothing. Yay. Really, the scene is pretty cool because the sun is not bouncing around like it's done in the past. So hopefully this will be a good one. I will process this time lapse. I'll record it because it takes so much time, but I'll process this time lapse and do a YouTube tutorial on it, a recording on it, probably tomorrow or the next day, if the clouds leave me alone. Let's move south a little. It doesn't want to move. Come on, let's go. Get the backlash out. There we go. Let's see where auto stackered is still working. And it's getting close. Now what auto stackered is doing besides, oh crap, I should have shown you something. Let's move this down, which is west, tad, north a little bit, and west. All right, back to auto stacker. Remind me, go up to color. I'll show you when it's done. If you're shooting a color camera or a monochrome camera, it doesn't matter. But if you're shooting a monochrome color, a monochrome camera, gosh, I can't talk, do auto stacker, and nudge this mount in a time lapse, and watch all the streaming messages, stuff, bit rate, and all that stuff. Okay, we need to move north and south. North. Okay, stay right there. Let's go back to auto stackered. And that's just, we're on a very slow laptop, guys. But we got time. If you're just joining, we're in, we have a live view of our star. It's just a short 93 million miles away. It only takes 5 minutes for the sun from the light from the sun to get here. The sun's pretty big, but you could put 1 million Earth-sized planets inside the sun. And we got to go north a little and east a little. And you could put 1 million suns inside of Betelgeuse. And Eta Carina, which is the largest star, observable star we've found. I think there's a larger one now. I think you could put 1 billion Betelgeuses inside of that. Don't quote me. I may have that one wrong. I wrote that down. I was watching the Universe channel, and we need to go north before our next image. Okay. All right. Let's bring up auto staggered. It's hung up. That's where we were last time. It's trying. You definitely don't want to use that laptop to batch process. By the way, when I get ready to process this time lapse, I'll go to File, Open, and I'll select every one of those video files, and I'll open each one of them. All I need to do is calibrate the flat one time, and then AutoStacker will process one, then the other, and apply the flat frame to each one of them. Tremendous software. Emil Kreykamp put this together, and a new version's coming out too. It's supposed to have come out a year ago before Christmas, and I don't know what happened. But he was doing a live streaming broadcast from Woodland Hills, and I'm talking. I need to I've ventured off. Let's go south. Up. There we go. South. And west. And now we got to come back. And we got to go south again. Okay, just in time. We're taking another one. And that I should have paid attention to that frame. Okay. We're at 209, so that was 210. So that was 90. So number 90 and maybe number 89 are bad. I don't know how long I talked. Still stacking. Okay, let's go west. And went too far, overshot. That happens. And let's go north. That's pretty good for government work. Okie dokie. There's the scenes just gotten raunchy. So we're not capturing anything right now. We're in a pause, but the scene is terrible now. Looks like everything's out of focus. It's gotten better and it's time to take an image. It ain't great, but it was better than it was then. But that was image 20, that was image 93. So we need to move south. And east. Let's see what auto stacker's done. Still stacking. Is that not insane? And it's just 150 frames. Are we really taxing this processor that much? That's wild. Well, need to go east. Good. I am Ed Overstreet. You're watching the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel, and we're live streaming the sun, taking a time lapse video. Hopefully, I'll have around 300 image files to put into a GIF movie. Hopefully. We need to move south and east. And 5 seconds, and we're going to knock off another 500 frames. So far, we have taken close to 100 frames, 100 videos. I don't script anything when I make these videos, and then it's obvious that I don't. I wouldn't do them if I had to write out what I was going to say. I just wouldn't do it and use a teleprompter. I've got a teleprompter on my iPad. I thought I would use it at first, but lordy. Okay, I got to stop talking and get this thing recentered. So we got to go, which way we want to go? North. Boy, a lot of backlash and declination in west. I'll nudge it west when it stops capturing. Yeah, pretty good. Let's try auto stacker. I think we're done. All right, so we are done. Let's close this out. Oh, under color, pick one of these. I don't care which one you pick. Now, if you have a color camera and it's a ZWO, pick Force RGB, but don't let it auto detect, or it's going to detect grayscale if you have a mono camera, and I do. Because when you go into PixInsight, you want to colorize it, or you go into Photoshop, you have to convert it then to an RGB. If you do this, it'll convert it for you. So just click on Force RGB, leave it that way, save that as your default, and let's check. Let's quit this, and let's move our mount, and then we'll finish processing that. in IMPPG. We got to go east, and we had 1 second to do it. If you've just joined, we're live imaging the sun, and I am nudging the mount, babysitting it, so that it stays centered. I center these crosshairs inside this sunspot, which is my reference. All right, now we're going to open up IMPPG, and this really does use a lot of processing power. I'm going to close out this tone curve, and we're going to open up our image that we just stacked. It will be a TIFF file. We want to go to today. There will be a folder called 30, and that's the percent of images that I kept. And here's the TIFF file we're going to open. It's always too big, so we're going to hit the minus key, and this is the area that any adjustments I make will show up in. I want to edit the entire screen, so I'm going to select and process all, and that box will go away. The first thing I'm going to do is bring up this little tone editor, squiggly, and I'm going to put an anchor point right here. There's already one here, and I'm going to drag this up there. And so there's my surface activity, and there's my surface. There's the rim and the surface. So we want to maybe add a little brightness to the surface, and daggone that sunspot. I've got to take new flats before I do this. Got to remember to take new flats. Got to remember to take new flats. All right, so normally all I'm going to do now is just run deconvolution up to between 2 and 2.5. So let's go to 2 and give it a minute to process. And while it's processing it, we better get back outside and better see what's going on. It didn't move too far. That's a praise. So let's go north. Got 14 seconds. What a praise. All right, let's go back to IMPPG, and let's try. I'm happy with this because I'll do the rest of my sharpening in PixInsight. But if you're not going there, you may drag your sigma up and the amount slightly. Be careful because you'll bring in artifacts in a hurry. Okay, that'll bring up some more detail. So far, so good. I think we're going to see a lot of the movement on this time lapse. I'm excited now. I'm getting stoked. All right, let's go back to it moved. I need to go east. Oh, okay. There we go. I moved it when we were imaging, which isn't a good thing, but auto stacker will straighten it out. Let's go north at the nudge a little bit. Then I would bring it into PixInsight and I would colorize it. Sharpen it, crop it, save it, and then I would do an alignment and align all the videos using IMPPG, same software that I did ran the curves on just now. Now you don't need IMPPG. You could bring that TIFF image into Photoshop and do the same thing with the curve. Or PixInsight. It just, the batch ability of IMPPG is just, you got to use it. It'll batch, do every one of them precisely the same. Then you can use linear fit in PixInsight to match the luminosity of each pixel from TIFF file to TIFF file so that there's no flicker in your video. And I'll demonstrate how I do that. Okay, we're going to need to move west a little bit when this thing stops. All right, let's go outside and look at our surveillance camera and see how the skies are looking. And it's going to turn on my camera. Yes, look how ice blue everything is. Oh my guys, look how ice blue. Did I put August 30th for this date? It's the 31st. This is the end of the daggone month. Wow. I'm ready for some cooler weather. And I'm serious. This has been some very hot weather for all of us. Okay. We didn't venture off too far. We're going to need to go north a little bit. The reason why I say north is that this hand controller this is north and south is my declination and east and west is my right ascension. I've got as much drift in east and west as I do in north and south. But all in all, for not being polar line, just pointed it north using a compass on my cell phone and dialing in the elevation on my mount, 34.917 for Spartanburg minus 81.0125. I've done that so much I know it by heart. Elevation 239 meters. That's silly. Crazy. We're going to need to go south, and I waited too long. No, we didn't. Now we're going to need to go west. No, 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 no. Up too far. Let's see, we're at 186. So I'm going to cancel. It's going to take me a minute to recenter this. So we got 186 left to go. Let's move this west. And then west again. We're going too fast. We're going sidereal. I need to change this to 4 times sidereal. All right, now let's go south, east, and let's go up to capture, start capture, 186, and start. So we're back and running. We had a little longer interval, which is absolutely okay. As a matter of fact, I've stopped this, gone downstairs, fixed a sandwich. I will say I eat fast. And come back up and start it again. I'll notice a little bit of a jump, but it's hard to notice it because I know what frame I stopped at and what frame I started, so I can kind of look for it. In this case, it would be a halfway through the video because we're about halfway. Well, not quite. We're a little over a third of the way through taking our pictures. We have 184 left to take, and let's go north a little bit and west a little bit. A while ago when I clicked the mount and it went real fast, I had it up here at 16 times sidereal, and that's why it jumped and went nuts. That's just not paying attention. But I hadn't been using this, but when I say I'm moving it north, I'm referring to this is north and this is south, and that's west and east. And we need to come back east now and north. I really don't need 2 hand controllers. This is part of SharpCap ASCON interface, and this is the ASCON controller. So when you connect Celestron, you get both. Well, you get both if I use the EQ mode when I use the Atlas Pro Skywatcher type mounts. If you're watching, scene just went pitiful then. As a matter of fact, scene is going from good and bad and bad and good. And I kind of would have expected the scene this morning earlier to have been horrific because I was so low in the horizon, I was imaging over my rooftop. Uh-oh. I'm going to put this on pause. And I'm going to go outside and make sure I plugged in the laptop. And you're going to see me go outside. Rule number 1, make sure you've plugged in everything. Okay, I'm back. Oh, now, by the way, see my backdrop? This is one cool thing about this green screen. I just cleaned my office up. Headphones. Yeah, rule number 1, make sure your gear's plugged in. Oh, that'd have bummed me out. Okay, let's move. I got to think here. Let's move north and then west. Okay, too far west. And then let's move north. We're going to have to redo this in a minute anyway. All right, let's go back to capture, start capture. And we were at 186. We're going to have to change that. Let's see, we've taken 120 items. Let's double check. And I know I have we have 120 and we want 300. So we have 180 left. And then I know I got 5 frames I'm going to have to replace. So let's make it 185. So let's just make it 185. And let's start. Well, should have moved it over, but we didn't. So we're going to go south as soon as this finishes. So we know that 180, this frame is going to be 185 needs to be deleted. and let's go east a little. So we're going to delete not 185, we're going to delete okay. All right, south. If you're just joining, we're doing a live view of the sun. We're imaging this featured area right here, and we're also hoping to get well, all of these are really running late. Here's one that's but this is what we're imaging right here, and there's some, you can't see it, but there's a lot of activity on the rim here. Okay. A live look at our sun where we're doing a time lapse. Hopefully we'll have 300 AVI files. Each file will be 500 frames. If the scene gets worse, then I'll stop the capture and I will increase the frame from 500 to 700 or 800. So let's move. I don't know why my hourglass is clocking over here, but it is. I mean, my cursor. Just as long as it moves the mount. Let's go north just a little. Looking good. Looking good. Why is that showing up? I know there's a way to keep those pop-ups from happening in Windows. I use Macs. I'm on an iMac now, and my office computers are iMacs, MacBook Pros. But all of the software for or a lot of the software for astronomy is in Windows only, as the case with SharpCap and IMPPG, PIP, and so I have Windows laptops that connect to my telescopes. And as I mentioned earlier, I have a laptop for each telescope that's outside, and there's 3 outside. 2 are permanently mounted on piers, and the solar kit is on a tripod. Okay, let's move this thing south just a tad. Starting to drift in declination. There we go. And our hope and our plan is to remove these dust spots by taking new flats, by revealing activity and movement here in this region, and by showing movement on the rim of the sun, by taking a 300 different movies, AVI files. We're going to stack each movie into a TIFF file, an image file, and then we're going to put the images, after we process, align them, register or align, whatever you use as a reference. But once we got them colorized, sharpened, and we'll do everything in a batch. Everything will be done batch processing. I would not do time lapses if I had to go through all 300 images individually. I start auto stackered and then I leave. I don't look at it again until it's done. It may take 300 images. I'll let it run all night. It may not even be done by morning. And I got a pretty fast laptop upstairs here next to me that I use for that. Okay, we better get north as soon as I get this picture taken, or this movie taken. All right, let's get over there. We're drifting in declination again, north this time. Go back and forth. And then we've got drift and right ascension. Also, I use my crosshairs. You can find them up here. And I use my crosshairs as a reference. I find something on the moon's surface, the sun's surface, that I can use to place the crosshairs, and then I nudge the mount, or I nudge the sun using my mount and this hand controller throughout the time-lapse sequence. So we're going to need to go north, and we're going to need to go west, and a little more north. And between each video that I'm taking, I have a 25-second pause, which gives me time to nudge the mount around. Okay, now we're going to need to move this thing west. I moved it while it was imaging. Yes, the scene was a whole lot better this morning earlier. And as I said, this was kind of unusual because I was shooting right over my rooftop where there's a lot of heat coming off of the roof, even in the early morning. And now that the mount is climbing in the sky, the scene's gotten, look, it's going in and out. You see the sun jumping around. So right after I take this one, I'm going to stop it. I'll have 166 left to take. I'm going to take this one right here, and then I'm going to stop it right now. So I have 166 to take, and I'm going to reset this. 166 left to go, and I'm going to change the number of frames per video to 700. And I'm doing that because the scene has gotten raunchy. Well, right now it looks good. So we're going to move this when it's finished east. And recenter. Otedote. We have 165 frames to go, and we have an hour and 15 minutes left to do it in. I'm not sure I'll get it in. All right, let's try something. Kenny, I don't, did you write a comment in questions, Ken? I'm looking in YouTube right now for your question. Let me, hang on a minute. Yeah, I see Bill, very interesting work. Do you apply flat frames? Yes, I do, Bill. And I'll be putting my final images up. Fire capture is, this has guiding too. SharpCap has guiding too, but you have to have a mount that'll let you do that. Let me show you where it is in just a second. Let me recenter this. It's gotten crazy on me again. I need to go east, and I need to go south just a little bit. Okay, after this one finishes, I like fire capture, by the way. I was kind of raised on SharpCap, and I was for a while. I was emailing Emil. I was email. Um, oh, the guy that does AutoStackered, and email CryCamp, and he used this was his software of choice. He had a couple of reasons, but at any rate, I'm going to stop this right now. And well, I waited too late. I'm going to stop this after this sequence, and I'll show you how you can use the guiding features here in 1 second. All right, we got 160 to go. I'm going to cancel. If you go to Tools, and let's see, is it down here? Yeah, it says Feature Tracking, and I'm going to use my mount at 1x sidereal. I want to make sure I don't, where'd it go? Somehow or another, I pulled it down here. Let me grab it. I just hope I don't move my, okay. You click on Calibrate. Let me get it started. Click on Calibrate, and it will try to calibrate your mount. Now, in my case, my mount won't calibrate because I've got so bloody much backlash. It's hard to move it. Now it did all right in that direction, but now when it tries to go back, it's got so much slop in the AVX mount that it just won't pull it off. So it'll fail. Um, but it's calibrating now. And it said failed due to inconsistent scale. So I could try guiding and see if it kind of held it in place, but it just I just end up nudging it. I found the same thing with with fire capture. I'm having the same problems with fire capture too because of the mounts backlash. You can only do so much with a mount that has as much backlash in RA and deck as this one does, particularly deck. So let's go back up to capture, start capture. We're at 160 left, and let's continue to catch them. Those are good questions. Um, so you had another question too. Let me get you back up here. Da, 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 da. Yeah, it's backlash, Bill, for a fact. Um, and I did take these. I took every mount. I own three. I own four mounts, and I took three of them apart this summer while we were having these thunderstorms. And I put new ceramic bearings in, re-greased the worm in the AVX, and they didn't do any good. I'm still I still have. Oh, I did good. I mean, I know it did good. It's just you just can't solve the problems that I'm having in this. So Ken, I saw where you were trying to ask a question, and are you on Facebook or are you on YouTube? Because I've just got the way my I just saw you sent me a text, Ten. I got it. Let me get back out here. Okay, guys, if you're watching, we've got a live view of our star, and we're knocking off some video. We're taking 700 frame AVI files right now. Got 156 to go. I started out doing 500 frame AVI files, but the scene was really good early on. If you go back and watch the first part of this streaming, the focus, the scene, everything was just spot on. And we have intermittent good scene going on right now. In fact, right now it looks pretty good, but it's also gotten really bad. So for that reason, I went ahead and up the frame rate. So I'll have, when I start culling the frames in the video, I'll have hopefully enough to make each TIFF file work for me. There was one thing that I did want to do. I want to see what time the sun transits. I think it's at 1 o'clock. Let me double click on this. And let's go to information. The sun transits, at 1:30. So I have an hour and a half left to get my frames in. So good. All right, let's head back to hey, we stayed right on point. Just in case, we did process one image a while ago, and here's what they're going to look like. I took one in AutoStackered. I took an AV file in AutoStackered, and I applied some flats that I'd taken yesterday, but I'm going to have to retake flats today because you see this dust mote. It didn't flat it out, so that's a bummer. So I'll retake flats. I just have to remember to do that. So, but this is what it's going to look like. Roughly each individual file. So we have some surface activity as well as some activity on the rim, and that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to go ahead and save this process to use, save these process settings to use. I'm just going to call this 8 not equal, 831, 22, and we'll save that in the root directory of 831. So that's what we got to work with. Let's get back out and look at our sun and see where we are. Hey guys, I'm not sure if, I think what's happened is that the telescope is pointing higher in the sky, and I'm not having to nudge it as much. I'm able to leave it alone a little longer. Earlier this morning, I was having to move it between every frame, every video file. But lately it's, and that happens. But last year, let's get back up here. Before I brought the mounts in and cleaned them, it seemed like I had to move them a lot more. It didn't matter. Whether they were pointing towards the zenith or pointing over the horizon. But maybe cleaning them and putting new ceramic bearings in, maybe that's helped. I don't know. So we are taking a time lapse. We are halfway. We've taken 150 pictures. We started around 10. It's 2 hours ago. So I've got an hour and a half to take the next 150, and I won't get them in. The sun transits at 1:30 roughly, and I'll probably get 260, 70, 80 in. I'll keep 250, and that'll make a decent time lapse. 250 TIFF files processed into a GIF movie. At least my fingers are crossed. And I will do the processing from A to Z and make a recorded YouTube video out of that for those of you who might be interested. Also, I'm going to be streaming the moon on October the 1st and streaming through the NASA website. I'm working with the Astronomical League of the Pacific along with NASA, and it's National Lunar Observing Night or Day. And so I'm going to be streaming through their site, and I did the lunar eclipse working with them, which was pretty interesting. And it started pouring down raining right within 10 minutes of going live. Just move this thing over. Got 15 seconds to do it. Okay, and somebody asked me about the umbrella. Why do I have an umbrella? Do I need it with the telegizmos? And you really don't. But the heat of our sun is just big time. The sun everywhere is big time, but when we have 100-degree temps up here at the mount, then I just try to keep as much off of the telegizmos as possible. I've got a larger umbrella inside I'm going to bring out. This is a 7-foot. I've got a 9-foot that I'm going to put up. But also, if rain starts coming down, and it happens where we get these pop-up thunderstorms in the south, I might try to squeeze some imaging time in between thunderclouds, and if I tried doing that, I can rapidly put this umbrella back up, which mitigates some of the issues I might have if I didn't have it. And then I throw the telegizmos on. But I wouldn't trade anything for these telegizmos. I sent them a email and said, use me. I've been using yours since for 8 years. I've been using telegizmos and keeping my gear outside 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And because of your telegizmos, I get by without any rust or dirt. I don't even get spider webs. And I've got a telescope in my garage that I've got a garbage bag, a big black garbage bag that I've covered it up with. And I'll pull it out to do some visual. It's a Smith Cassegrain 8-inch on an alt azimuth mount. And I'll be daggone if that thing doesn't get spider webs and more dust and bugs than I get here. There's my wife out walking around. Um, her phone's ringing downstairs too, and she's working on the bird feeders. Bless her heart. Okay, look, we haven't been. I haven't been paying attention to this, and we're still pretty much on target. When I say on target, our crosshairs haven't ventured off that much, which is a good thing. I'll tag you on the final image, Bill. I can. I keep the umbrella up all the time, except when I'm imaging, and I'll take it down. But it's just a regular patio umbrella. Okay, I've drifted now, so let's move this thing down west and north. And we have 141 remaining. And okay, let's go east, up, west, and south. Why in the world did I think? I'm gonna have to stop it at 140. All right, let's get recentered. Okay, we need to go west. Wrong way. Now south. Now east. All right, now we got to. Oh, I thought I stopped it. All right, at 140, so that's at 160. Number 160 has to be deleted. So frame number 160. So far, I've got to delete 63, 64, 97, 90, 97, and 160. So I've got, I only have 5 videos that are, whoa, I've ventured off again. So I need to go north and west just a little bit. All right. It went too far. And we're clicking along. Let's move it over north a little. Will do, Kenny. We are live imaging the sun, and I need to move it over north where it's drifting in declination. We have 136 video files video images to take, or video movies to take, to complete our time lapse, and we're running out of time. We have an hour and a half to do it because the sun transits at 1:30, and I'll have to flip the mount, and if I flip the mount, then stacking and aligning the images won't. It's just hard to do it. So I try to get the time lapses done before transit. Now I may start after lunch, and when I finish this, I'll grab something to eat and I'll check the skies out. And if they're still ice blue clear, I may image this afternoon, and because I'll have more time before the sun sets than I had this morning. So from 1 to 5, I'll have 4 hours. And but definitely tonight, I will be imaging with I'll be on Jupiter and going back and forth between Jupiter and Saturn starting about 9:30 on one telescope, and then starting about 8:30, I'll be setting up another telescope, wide field, to capture. Forgot what it was. I don't know if I'm doing the elephant trunk in wide field or the North American Nebula. I haven't made up my mind yet. I may even do Andromeda. I haven't done that. I think I did it last year, but I do it every year. Oh, I needed to stop this at 1:33, and I talked myself into having to stop this. And let's go up east and over south. All right, and then we're at 1:33. Start. And each video file will have 700 frames. I was doing 500 frames earlier today because the scene was so much better, but that changed, and so I upped the number of frames per video from 500 to 700 about 40 minutes ago, 30 or 40 minutes ago, about 20 till 12. It was about halfway through. $130 remaining, 170 in the can. If you're just joining, we are live, and I'm imaging the sun with a quark chromosphere attached to a 65, an Astrotech 65 EDQ. It's a quad refractor. I love that telescope. I just had a bug crawl across the front of the telescope. And it's behaving pretty good right now. It's staying fairly close to its reference point. nudge it south a little bit. I have to remember to take some flat frames to get rid of this smudge. These are dust spots. These are somewhere, they're either on the quark chromosphere or the filter. Interestingly enough, they're not on the end of the telescope element. They're not on the refractor. That won't show up. But these big smudges are a good distance from the sensor. This, on the other hand, is on the sensor. These precise, more defined dust particles, that's on the sensor. You can always spot those. But this one down here and these right here, little ones, and this, and up here, there's probably some out here too that you can't see. Those are definitely on either the IR UV cut filter that attaches uh, to the quark chromosphere in front of the quark chromosphere, or it's on the quark chromosphere. Now, the quark chromosphere has power running to it to heat up the element. And anytime you add electricity, uh, I think you do have the effect of attracting dust. And I have suspicions that it's the quark chromosphere that's probably could stand a blowing off. But I don't really care because the flats I take do it for me. We need to move north a little bit now. Okay. Um, I'll show you what well, I'm going to take flats by defocusing um, my image so that all you see is the dust. And I'll take that, make a master flat from that, and then I'll subtract that from my AVI file. And so that'll rid me of those smudges. But I also have a dust cap that I got from Daystar, and I can put that on the end, and that works exceptionally well. And I'm going to drop this green screen behind me and go get it. Huh, just tripped over the green screen. Okay. I am back, and I got to move the scope before we do anything else. So finish capturing and delete this file. We have 121. Let's move this over to the north. Okay. This is the dust cap that I use, and as you can see, it's got a Daystar flat cap is what it's called, and it's kind of frosted. You could probably make one cheaper than this, but this fits on the end of the Solar Scout or on the end of my 65 EDQ perfectly, and it takes great. You have to really run your exposure up though, because it really blocks out a lot of light. I didn't realize how much you got to take it up to. You got to run up your gain some and your exposure, and you want to match your histogram as much as possible. So you want to check your histogram of your image first, and then when you put this on, you need to run your exposure up to where you have, for example, let me go down here. If your histogram is falling about right here, then when you put your dust cap on, you want to run your exposure up so that it's about the same place. Or you'll screw around with your image if you have radically different exposure limits or exposures for the tube, the flat and the image. Anyway, bring that back up so I have my controller. Now we're going to need to go west a little bit during this break, and you use the dust cap if you cannot fill your frame. If you can't fill this frame with the sun and defocus it, then you need to use the dust cap. And so if you have to have any of the sky black, the black sky in your, like you do with the Solar Scout, then you have to use the dust cap. But with this, I can move the sun. I can move the mount so that the sun is, this screen is all white with the sun. So I can easily defocus and remove all of the sunspots with that. But if I chose just to take flats right now and had this black sky, I'd have to go out and put the dust cap on. And I don't want to move. All right, I'm going to have got 18 seconds to move this thing up, which is east, and a little south. Not a lot south, but a little south, and back up again. All righty. And if you just joined me, I'm babysitting this mount. I'm using these virtual hand controllers to move the mount so that I'm recentering the the sunspot into the crosshairs. And by recentering it throughout the time-lapse sequence, I'm minimizing the cropping that the software is going to have to do when it stacks or registers these images. So that's important because I don't want to have, in order to register the image, stack them, align them. I don't want to end up losing part of my surface here that has activity on it. So I'm out here babysitting. So let's go east again and north. I'm going to scream at my wife who's getting ready to go to the doctor, and then the beauty shot. Well, she's in the garage. She knows I'm doing this, so she's not going to say goodbye. My wife is, we've been married for 54 years, going on 55 years. I was asked by my Sunday school class if I had any secrets, and I do. Hey, Marianne? Mm-hmm. I'm still streaming, but you're getting ready to leave, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
Charlie's out.
Okay. I'm still streaming, so I'll be here until 1:30. Okay. All right. But the secret is, after our first anniversary, I took her to Hawaii. And then on our 54th, I went and got her, brought her home. And that's been the secret to our 55 years, almost. Okay, let's move this thing over north. Can you hear me? Yeah, we're coming back. Look south. Okay. Alrighty, looking good. We have 111 to go. Our plan is to have a 300-second time lapse. I know I'm real slow to get to questions. To babysit this mount and operate all the streaming software, I am just not very good at multitasking. In fact, I'm miserable at it. So eventually we'll look down at the questions. We'll have to move south again as soon as this finishes. Here we go. And we're going to need to go west a little. And now north a little. Went too far south. Alrighty. We're getting down to the final hour. And we're going to catch you later, Mimi. We're moving down to the final hour. We have 108 AVI files to go. We've slowed down a little bit because we've gone from 500 to 700 frames per AVI file. I did that because my scene conditions went from very, very, very good to marginal. So I wanted more frames to work with. I'll keep the top probably 15%, between 10 and 15%. And I really don't care how good the quality graph turns out in auto stackered. I'm still going to keep roughly the top 10 or 15%. And two reasons. One, it processes faster, and two, there's plenty of data in 100 really, really good frames to make a great image. Now that's just for the sun. That doesn't work for our planets. Works for the sun and the moon, but it doesn't work for planets. Okay, we're in trouble here. I got to move west and south. Got 5 seconds to get over there. And we did it. If you're joining, we are looking at the sun live, and we're imaging this region. And also the rim has a good bit of activity. I've already processed one image, and this is what it looks like. We can go ahead and delete this. So I've got one sunspot that wasn't flatted out. That's why I've got to take some new flats. But this is going to show real nice here in the time lapse, and I know we're going to get a lot of movement here. So there's a lot of swirling going on. And we should get some activity on the rim if I don't lose. This may crop out some of my, anything over here and down around here could get cropped out. That's why I'm babysitting this mount so vigilantly. And I better get back out there too before it drifts on me. It stayed pretty close to home. Thank you, thank you. We have 103 frames left to go. Our goal is to have 300. I don't think I have enough time. personally, I wouldn't use this green screen behind me, but my wife says either straighten up the room, put your cables back where they belong, or please use the green screen. I hate for people to see just how cluttered up your observatory is. We call it my observatory. It's the bonus room over the garage, and all it has in it's my stuff. Camera equipment. On one side, I have photography equipment for horizontal photography, DSLRs, lenses, another iMac, two iMacs, and then on the other side, I have astronomy stuff, and it's just cables. I got 5 drawers of cables. Uh-oh, we got to get this thing up. Let's see, we need to go east and north a little. Well, the sound's bouncing around now. Scenes got horrible. At least we don't have clouds. As a matter of fact, while it's taking this, let's go see what our cloud situation looks like. I have a surveillance camera, and this is right now. You can see how the sun is aimed at the zenith almost, and we're getting close to transit as the weights are getting high in the sky, or higher. We got an hour before it transits, and I'm trying to get my images in before that. But look how clear the sky is. I'm excited. I'm really excited because tonight I will be imaging with this is a Smith Cassegrain on Atlas Pro mount. This is a Stellar View 70T triplet on a Atlas Pro. Both of these are Atlas Pro EQAZ mounts. And then this will be doing Andromeda. I just made up my mind. I'm going to do Andromeda with the refractor, because this 70 it's about 336 millimeters. And I'll use ZWO 1600 cameras on both of these. I've got Astrodon and astronomic filters. I have Astrodon filters on this one, astronomic filters. No, this one's going to be using an ASI 224 color camera for Jupiter and Saturn. I better get back before my oh lordy, 98. I'm going to just stop this. 98. Look how much we drifted. Ah, crap. Okay, we got to go east and north. East and north. So I'm going to guess that frame number 199 are bad, that they got caught in the drift. So we're going to change, we're going to go back to capture. Instead of putting 98 in, we're going to put 100 in. So we got 100 left to go. I'm adjusting for the number that I'm going to have to delete: 63, 64, 90, 60, 199. And again, the only reason that they're probably just as good as the rest, except they drifted, and they'll create a registration problem where cropping is going to happen that I don't want to have happen. I will end up doing some cropping, but I want to be the one that crops the final image so that I keep what I want to keep. I don't want the software to crop out some active proms, for example, and it will if I'm not careful. All right, we got to go north and west. To recenter. And we're going to have to do west again. I shouldn't have said anything about the higher it gets in the sky, the less drifting it's doing, because it must have just been a good time a while ago. It's just moving all over the place now. I can't hardly move it fast enough. And the scene is just really not good. I need to run the frame rate now up to 1,000 frames because of the scene, but I'm afraid if I do that, I've got an hour to take these 96, and I'm not going to get all 96 in an hour. You have to have patience to do these time lapses. It's a lot of time you put into a capture, but I love it. The science of the sun is just, guys, it's incredible. Um, Here, I'm going to read something to you if I can find it. Make me move this thing real quick here, though. Da, 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 da. All right, now let's see. Let me find my notes, and probably won't find it. Ah. Okay, here's some interesting facts. Let me move this thing. Waited too late. But I'm going to keep that one. Which one was that one made? I'm going to go ahead and delete it. That was 94. I was on 94, so okay. Let me move this thing east. West, south. Okay, the interesting facts. There's over 1 billion stars in our observable universe. All right, we got to go south again. Most of us are aware of that. Our sun is 1,000,000 miles in diameter. You could fit 1 million Earth-sized planets inside the sun. But it's tiny when you compare it to Eta Centauri, which is 5 million times larger than our sun. It is 7,500 light years away, Eta Centauri. Betelgeuse, you could put 300 Eta Centaurines inside of Betelgeuse. Now keep in mind, Eta Centauri is 1,000,000 times larger than our sun. And our sun, you could put 1,000,000 Earth-sized planets inside. And then you could put 300 Eta Centaurines inside of Betelgeuse. And then we have VY Canis Majoris, and it's 1 billion times larger than our sun. Imagine that. Ay, 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 ay. I tell you what, it's pretty good science. And it's going to burn out in about 4 billion years. So if you don't have burnout insurance, yeah, talking about global warming. Okay, we got to go north here. Didn't do it in time, so we got some drift to deal with. Dang it. Alrighty, excuse me. Try to keep my language for kids. Actually, I'm try not to use language that's bad anyway. I don't like to hear it in other people, and I'm not proud of myself if I get caught throwing around some words. And I do hit my finger with a hammer, and I speak languages I didn't know I knew. I better check and see if I have any. I don't. Good. Unanswered messages. If you're just joining us, we're on the last hour of a imaging session that started at around 10 o'clock this morning, Eastern Standard Time. And we are at 12:30. So for 2.5 hours, we've been imaging the sun in a time lapse. Stop it. We've gone too far. And we're at 87. We've taken over 213 images so far. And we have 87 to go. My goal is to get close to 300 AVI movie files. About half of them will be 500 frames, and the other half were changed to 700 frames because scene conditions also changed. Went too far, and went too far again. Let's go south a little bit. All right. I'm having a hard time getting this started. Okay, let's go back up to capture, start capture, and this is how I set up my time lapse. There'll be 700 frames per video, and we have 87 videos left. There's an interval between videos of 25 seconds, which gives me time to recenter the mount if I don't get sidetracked. And then when I do, I just stop everything, and I take note of how many I have left, and I get it recentered. And I'm recentering it often to keep from having to crop this image in processing, because if it's bouncing all over the place and you try to register or stack your images on top of each other, then you'll have stacking cropping going on, and I don't want that. All right, we're going to have to move east when this thing stops imaging. 40, there we go. So, and north. North, I'll scoot the crosshairs to the left, move the sun over to the right. Here we go. Perfect. With 6 seconds to spare. And we're on image number 84. And down here at the bottom, it tells you how many frames we've captured. And we're at 75, 78 frames per second, which is pretty slow. It's usually around 100. I noticed that I'm dropping a lot of frames, and that's just, I probably need another. The only cable I didn't replace was the camera, the USB cable from the camera to the Pegasus data port. I didn't change those. That may not help at all, but I got to make note of that. I got to take flats when I'm done, and flats will be the very last thing I do before I sign off on this, which will be in about 45 minutes or less. 83 frames to go, and we need to move east as soon as this stops. And we're back pretty centered. Oh, I'm excited about tonight. I will go live tonight with two telescopes, both on Facebook and on. I'll simulcast both Facebook and YouTube. Oh, I should have stopped it. We are way off. Okay, which one did I? I'll have to delete this one too. I'm going to stop this, cancel. So we're at 81 left. So 81, that's 219. 219 has to be deleted. Okay. File number 219. All right, let's recenter. We got to go west and south. And now south. And west. All right, did we go too far west? No. And so I didn't mean to do quick capture. That's fine. And I forgot how many. So we've taken 227. So we have 227. So we have 63, 73 left to go. So let's take 75. Capture. Start capture. Let's try 75. And let's move the mount. Let's move the mount east. No, move the mount east, yeah. And one thing I like about the ASCON driver is that when I bring this up, it disables everything over here, but not my ASCON driver. So I don't have to stop anything. Use one or the other. My sound may have gotten messed up because I just saw where my boom mic had been scooted off to the side, probably when I got up to go outside to plug in the laptop. We're going to have to move east after this image. I am so fired up about this afternoon and tonight, having clear skies. Guys, we haven't had them. I live in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and we're in a very tropical type climate with thunderstorms almost daily. And if they don't actually show up, they threaten. The skies become real angry looking, and you sometimes get rain, you sometimes don't. The only thing I've done positive from a photography standpoint this summer is I've gotten some nice lightning shots using my Lightning Bug by MK Controls. One of the guys that was on, they posted a comment. Ken, Tony, and I do a lot of photography together. Not so much now as we used to do. We used to spend hours in a car chasing storms, and I shouldn't say this, but he was an assistant coroner, had a police car, so we might have driven a little faster than we were supposed to get there, but we never ran the lights or the siren. We never did that, but we may have used a little excessive speed. Of course, I wasn't driving. I was telling him you oughtn't to drive so fast, being the nice guy I am. Well, we used to try to catch up with storms and get there really a little ahead of their arriving and try to get some good lightning shots and wicked clouds moving around. We do time lapses and run the lightning bugs. Having fun with photography. I tell you, this is not a great thing about retiring. Is you can, like I do sports photography, but I can do it when I want to. Um, if somebody wants me to photograph a football game or something, and let's say it involves a high school or a college, and that night there's clear skies, and I don't want to get involved in having to photograph and then process and upload the pictures to whoever wants them. Uh, I'll just say I can't make it. I'll do do what I want. Love it. Hallelujah. 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 Work hard, guys. I tell you what, the bad thing about retirement, let's say you want to buy something, and if something you want to buy is going to cost some money, it's like a new refractor, or you want to upgrade your mount. And then you start doing the math. Well, I'm 78 years old. What's my life expectancy at 78? It might be up to 90. Well, so I got 12 years to live, uh, according to mortality tables. So if I buy a mount, that's $6,000. And then let's say I have 35 clear sky nights a year. You start doing the math. You go, how can I justify buying anything? And so it goes. And then they say, well, you can't take it with you. Well, you can't. And my kids are all doing well. So why not? It just doesn't make sense. We're still driving cars that are, let's see, my truck, I just paid the property taxes on it. It was $18 for the property taxes. Compared when I bought it new, it was $1,200 property taxes. And that was in 2004. So I still have my Toyota Tundra that I bought in 2004, and I'm not buying a new car unless one dies. I'm definitely not buying an electric car. Let's see. Nothing against electric cars, just cost too much money. I'd buy another used car. I'm not going to spend a lot of money on a car at my age. It won't be long. My kids will be trying to get my keys from me saying, Dad, you don't need to drive, period. And I get that. Well, I got morbid all of a sudden. This is fun stuff, and I'm talking death and dying and losing my truck. And my wife has a Camry, and it's about as old. I think it's a 2006 Camry. She has less than 80,000 miles on her car, and I have about 150. So why? Why? Why spend money on an automobile? We don't go. As far as I go is to area schools around here. I may drive to Columbia, to University of South Carolina, or I may drive to Clemson, but I don't do many of those anymore. I just don't want to do them. Too much work. You're there all day and you're home all and up all night processing pictures. Isn't worth it. But I do a lot of dorm sports and District 6 stuff, so I enjoy doing that. I like being around kids. I like being around coaches. I love sports photography. And by the way, I haven't had to nudge this mount very much in the last 5-10 minutes, which is pretty unheard of for so far. It's staying pretty much where it's supposed to be. That's a good thing. Okay, we are going to have to nudge it south now. Started misbehaving. We have we've taken about 140. We got 62 to go. And we have, I am tempted. Trying to make an executive decision here. We have 61 to go, so I'm going to stop this. And scene's gotten a little better, so I'm going to change back to 500 frames. And we're at 62. So let's start knocking off 500 frames and see if we can't speed up the acquisition of my 300 AVI files. And I need to go north a little. I don't want to change the interval for though. The interval's kind of important, but it is eating up a lot of time. Tell you what, I am going to change it 5 seconds. So we're at 60. Capture, start capture. We're at 60. And we're going to change this to 25 seconds to 20 seconds. Start. All right. That'll speed up things a little bit. And I'll just have to make sure I operate a little faster here. Let's move north a little bit. I'm going to have to pay a little more attention. And to nudging them out. So we're at 59. We're knocking off 242 in the can, 58 to go. And about 35 minutes to do it in. We have to move east just a tad. Okay. We'll get a few more in because we shortened the interval from 25 seconds to 20. And the frame rate, we went back to 500 because the scene is slightly improved. Not a lot, but it's a little improved. But I changed it to 500 so I could try to get as many frames in as I can during this. I only have like 30 minutes left to image, and the reason is that we're going to have a transit at 1:28, so at 28 minutes after 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the sun is going to cross the meridian right here. And when that happens, the weights on my telescope, this is the telescope that we're using, and the weights are going to, right, you saw it jump, it just now connected, but the weights are going to be higher than the telescope. And if I didn't stop it, it would still track the sun, but my camera would start running into my pier and the weights got higher. So when you flip them out, you do just that. The weights become on the west side and the mounts on the east side. And so you're going to have west shooting east go from east shooting west. So when it flips over, then it can continue to track it. But your image is completely reversed when you flip it. And so it makes stacking and registering a nightmare. Not for deep space, but it does for definitely does for planetary. So we drifted some. That's okay. Josh, storms are not so much in our wheelhouse anymore, but we were really looking for lightning strikes, big time lightning strikes. And I'll show you a school. Let me move this one down here just a little bit. Good evening, Corin from the UK. Glad to have you with us. Uh, I hope you got clear skies over there. I know for a fact that what time we spent in your neck of the woods, that it was dreary, overcast, and drizzling. Of course, it was in the fall and winter. But we got to move west here and north a little bit here. I'm going to stop this at 50 frames. I got carried away. While this is paused, and I'm going to find a picture that I took of, let me go to an open frame. Let me find a picture that I took on Stacy Dorman. I got a folder here. Just one second. I'm looking for. I know you're in the dark. Okay, and now you're gonna see what I'm looking at. Let me find stadium pictures. You don't want that one. Oh, here you go. Here's a lightning strike. That this is what we're looking for. This is the school that I do a lot of photography for, and this is the stadium where they play football. It seats about 15,000, and the school has about 4,400 students. There's a campus here, and then there's a campus. Let me find another. I didn't mean to bring that, but I'm just doing some drone photography. This is one of my favorite pictures. I took this year. I'm really off of my time lapse. I got to get back in. I got to get back on board. This is he works in the district office. This is the principal, and this is the superintendent of schools. And this is DJ Porter, who will be playing big-time football, and I'm not sure where he's going to sign, but he's quite an athlete. And he's talking to these guys on his way to a touchdown, and so I think it's a pretty cool picture. But at any rate, let me see, overhead stadium, and well, I don't guess it's going to be here. I got a picture that shows the other freshman campus, which is right behind it. But at any rate, I got to get back to. I bet the drift has gone off the charts, guys. All right, here we go. Look, it's looky. How blessed. We didn't have it much. I need to go east as soon as it stops taking. Oh, I haven't started. We'll knock 50 off right away, and then we'll start capture, and now we have 49 actually to take. So I just knocked off 50. So let's go. And as soon as it's done, we'll nudge it east. But Josh, we were just looking for lightning, and primarily, and daytime lightning is tough. You got to have something to trigger it, and lightning bugs fit on your camera, and they fire the camera for you, and you just have to set it up correctly, and you got to take a slow. You may need a filter on your camera, a neutral density filter, because you have to take slow exposures. And during the daytime, your camera wants to take fast exposures, and you also want to take in the f5.6, an f-stop in that neighborhood, between 2.8, say 5.6, and but at any rate, uh, you want your speed to be about a quarter of a second. Boy, I messed this one up. I'm all right. I'm going to have to. That's number 46. Number 45. We're going to have to delete. Let me write that. Our number 255. Okay, 255 has to be deleted. All right, let me go back and get this centered. Wrong way again. South. It's going east. It needed to go south. Now I got to go east. And now I got to go south. Till it's getting late in the game, I'm not as serious about getting everything start. And let's say I forgot what I'm supposed to do. Let's just make it 45. Okay. Somewhere between a quarter of a second, and you don't want it to fire so fast that it misses the lightning. So, but you need to usually, depends on how bright it is outside. You might have to put a neutral density filter on, say a 2-stop neutral density. You don't need to go. You don't need to go really much higher than that. But at any rate, it is what it is. But they're a lot of fun. In fact, I set the kit out outside. Let me see if I can find. I'm going to pause it right now. I'm not going to get all my images in because I'm getting sidetracked with the other thing I love to do. Let me bring up. Let me find. I love my Macs, but let me find my. Let's see. Let's go to. I want to go. Do I want to go to? I don't want to go to Dorman. Hang on a minute. I'm trying to find lightning. Let's see. I have no. You know what? Let me go to. Maybe it's here. No. Let me see. Maybe it's. I've got a picture that shows the lightning bug. Da 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 da. Here it is. Not the lobster. There's my daughter. She does a lot of free climbing with no help, no support, whatever. And I take her pictures. Daggone. This is some lightning I took in the backyard a couple of years ago, but I thought it had the. That's my. As a long story. Have you ever done any light painting? One of the fire departments downtown, or no, over in North Spartanburg, wanted their new tanker. They wanted a picture of it, so it was at nighttime. You can't see the stars, but there's stars up there. But we had them pull into a deserted strip mall, and you can kind of see it in the back, and it was pitch dark, and we set up tripods with our cameras, and we fired them remotely. And I'd walk up and take a flashlight and I would fire and just open the shutter and just leave it open while I lit up this, and then I would close the shutter and I would light up this, and we put some flashes inside with some blue gel covers on them to get the blue. But we had about 200 images that we stacked together to make this one. It was all painted with a flashlight. Pretty cool stuff. But I better get back and finish this thing off. Uh, at any rate, hey, look, it hasn't drifted. Uh, thank you, thank you, thank you. We took about 6 or 7 images too without the drift. Uh, I picked this part because of this. Um, this particular area right here, which is looking pretty bad right here, the region is going to have, when I put it into a time lapse, there's going to be some swirling going on. Let me move the mount over real quick here, and I need to go north. But the other reason why I picked it is that I went around the sun looking at stuff, and it looked to me like it was the best place to get rim activity and at the same time to get this. So I processed one image just to see what it would look like. So this is IMPPG, and it shows that I have some activity on the rim. It isn't really that remarkable, but it will be moving in the time lapse that's 300 images long. And then there will be some swirling around this sunspot. I'm going to have to take a new set of flats to get rid of this. And I used an old set of flats so that I could rapidly process this to see what I was going to be up against, whether it was worth taking. Now, why I picked that and how I picked that, I go to this website and I'll just click on, say, this image, which is about 5 minutes old. And this was the sunspot that I chose. And this is the activity along the rim. I didn't see anywhere else around here that looked any better. So that's why I picked this. And but good question. And I go to a website like this. It's the gong2.nso.edu website. It's a good one to have in your inventory. And the other one that's also good to have is the NASA Solar Observatory. And what you can do is click on like daily movies. And let's say we want to pick yesterday. So we're in August. Let's say we went to the 29th. It won't have today. Well, it has the 30th in it. Let's go to the 30th. And then you want to come down here to one of these. You don't want to spend your time looking at these, but say here, and you'll see a movie that will show this and the rim activity 2 days ago. But this is that hot area, and you kind of get an idea of what it's doing and what you might be able to capture. So this part right here is what I'm hoping will show up, and we'll find out. But good questions. So let's get back out here and see how much drift I've had. And no doubt, look, guys, that's awesome. For not being polar aligned, my goodness, I could nudge it a little bit. Well, I'm just going to leave it alone. It's doing pretty good. Yeah, they are good tools. Before I even, well, I made up my mind this morning. I didn't care if there was nothing on the rim or nothing on the surface. I was going to image something. I haven't had a chance to see clear skies in so long. I was going to image the sun. I didn't care if it had any. I'll image sunspots. I mean, I'll image my dust spots, but I'm going to image something. And so I got up and looked to see where it was the most active. And then I went out and connected everything and checked it out and took a couple images and processed them. and said, "Yep, that's what I'm going after." So, oh yeah, the sunspots. That this sunspot right here. Let's see, about a week ago was right here. So the sun rotates very slowly, and so by next week it'll be over here to the right. So everything kind of goes across. Well, let me see. Um, I'll take that back. I've got my camera rotated wrong. If we go back though to this is right. This is absolutely correct. So it's rotating. As you can see, this is over a period of a day. So this is how much it moved in a day. This is what it moved October 30th. And there are some other pretty cool there's a lot of different filters that you can look at in these movies as well. So um, check out this website. It's the Solar Dynamics Observatory, and it's getting us images that are taken as I'm trying to think of the name of the name of the I'm trying to read it on here too. What's the name of the telescope that's out there imaging the sun? Ah, daggone. Look, guys, we still haven't drifted. We're down to 23 images and counting, and oh, I love it. All right, let's see. Josh, where are you from? You may have said, you may have told me so. Well, I like comments that say nice. Y'all make sure that you like and subscribe. I started doing these just a little over a year ago, and I'm up to 200. Wait a minute. Let's see. I think I've got 200. I've got a little over 200 subscribers, so um, I'm evidently I'm missing out on how to do these. I know I'm missing out. It doesn't matter to me. Oh, you're in North Carolina. Where in North Carolina? Yeah, we're both in trouble with skies. It's, as you well know, this is a miserable country to be in right now. But it's going to get better. I expect if we don't have hurricanes, uh, I expect to have a cooler September, and we ought to have some good color on our leaves this year. 19 images to go. I probably shouldn't have changed the frame rate from 500 to 500 from 700 because the scene really is as bad as it's been all. It's bad. I got greedy and I really, really wanted to get 300 frames. We're down to 15 minutes left before transit and 18 images to go. I actually probably have close to 300 now. Just I'm gonna have to get rid of some of them. We're at 285, 285. So we have 15 to go. That's pretty close. I put some extras in there because I'm gonna have to throw some out. Actually, I'm gonna end up getting rid of probably 30 or 40. What I'll do now is I'll put them in auto stacker, let that run all night, and then tomorrow morning I'll bring them up in IMPPG and I'll apply a curve and some sharpening, and I'll batch process that. That'll take about 30 minutes. Then I'll load them into PixInsight, and I'll blink through them, and I'll get rid of the ones that are eyeball rejects. Then I'll load them back up in IMPPG and I'll align them, I'll register them, and then I'll quickly make a movie to see if it's worth anything before I invest any more time. And if the movie shows me lots of good movement, then I'll take the images back into PixInsight and I'll further sharpen, crop, and colorize. And then I will save them and I will realign them that way. And then I'll bring them back into PixInsight in linear fit, which means I will match the exposure times of from frame to frame so that there won't be any flicker using linear fit in a batch mode. That is one feature that I just discovered a week or two ago because I hate the fact that so many of my time-lapse videos show flicker. That means the luminosity from one set of images changes from the luminosity of the next, and that happens because of it just happens because of it changes. And so linear fit matches each exposure so that each pixel has the same value from picture to picture, and that is so good. Well, I drifted a bunch then. These last ones are going to be pitiful. I had a good run there for a minute. Let's go east, get it up there. The backlash, though, of these consumer mounts and AVX mounts is just not good. But I will be imaging tonight. If you're not and you want to jump on board, I'll be out imaging tonight. Laurinburg, I don't know where that is. Where's Laurinburg, North Carolina? Are you in the mountains? Are you in the Raleigh area? Oh, Greensboro. I love that town. I had a great friend who was a vice president at Jefferson Pilot when they were in Greensboro. I love that part of the country. Yes, sir. Great neck of the woods. Oh, Corin's in was in Greensboro 5 years. Okay, 5 years ago. Yeah, that's great country. Lincoln Financial ended up buying Jefferson Pilot, and I guess they still have. I guess that building downtown, the Jefferson Pilot building, that was used to have a radio station in the bottom floor of the JP building. But I was in financial planning for 42 years, and we brokered a lot of products through them. Oh, Lumberton is that's a neat part of the country. I got some friends in Joey White, good friends in the Lumberton area too. It's a small world. I'd hate to paint it, but it is a small world. Guys, we are uh, about 8 minutes away from transit, and let's move. And we're about 8 minutes away from transit, and we are somewhere. Let's take a look at my telescope outside, and I think I'm going to tweak this one more time north. And that's the last time I'm going to tweak it. I'm going to take the next 5 frames just the way they are, or 6 frames. If it drifts, it drifts. I'm going to go outside and see. All right. you can see that the weights on this telescope, the weights on this telescope now are about as high. They're ready to transit, so they're as high as the telescope. They're horizontal, and so it's about to transit. I could go past transit if I needed to, but I'm just going to go ahead. This telescope isn't going to run into the mount for another hour and a half or so, another hour anyway. But I'm I'm good. I've got enough to. I think I have enough images, AVI files to do some damage. So let's see what we got. Da, 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 3 more to go. I said I wasn't going to nudge them out, but Josh, I don't know about your skies. If you were closer to Spartanburg, I would tell you you got some great skies for tonight because it is really nice out. Um, yeah, I know what you. Yeah, I wish I was in astrophotography 15 years ago. Uh, Look at my drift now. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel this and call it. Um, I'm going to cancel that out, and that's what we got. It drifted so much. Well, I hope you got what you have there, though, and what you have in the Raleigh area is that you have so much light pollution, and there's just so much. Uh, it's just such a heavily populated. That Tri City, that area is just great for football. Super place to live for sports, basketball, football. Lord, Lord, Lord. Um, Being a sports photographer since I retired from financial planning, I would be kept busy, but I really don't want to work that hard. I'd much rather do this. I told my wife if I had my life to do over and I had this kind of technology, I I would have I would I would have never I would have been in astrophysics, physics in college, in graduate school. I would have never spent any money in economics, statistics, and the area that I ended up going. I would have never done that. I would have been in this field, and I would have loved to have spent uh, my life studying in the world of astronomy. I think it's just so cool. And when a long story, but my son, I had hip replacement surgery probably 2009, 2010. And my son's a neurologist, was in California at the time, and he ended up sending me two telescopes, a 11-inch Vixen 260L Smith Cassegrain. It's a bastardized Smith Cassegrain. It's a little different, but it's pretty much it's a reflector. And then he sent me a Vixen 81 EDS refractor. I didn't know what to do with them, and they both had their own mounts. I had no idea what to do with them. And I thought, as my son lost his mind, and so I had the hip replacement surgery, and I was laid up, and I put the lighter weight one. I could carry it, the 65. I mean the Vixen the 81 EDS, and the mount outside. And I figured I went and got the book on how to run the mount or manual, and I was figuring that out. And when I saw the moon for the first time through a telescope, a good telescope, that was it. I went running to get a camera to see if I could figure out some way to connect it. Then I was online trying to find out how do you connect. Can you connect a DSLR to a refractor? And that began my learning. And I can't tell you how many hours I've spent on YouTube reading other YouTubers doing these outstanding tutorials, and I've learned so much from them. I'm so thankful for them. There's no way in the world I could do what I'm doing right now if it hadn't been for Chuck Ayub and Trevor Jones from Astro Backyard and John Nielsen from Visible Dark and Warren Keller and Adam Block and Peter Prolak. These guys are Ron Beecher. These guys are just they're animals in this world, and all from the amateur world that just love astrophotography and have committed a lot of time and a lot of their knowledge. So that's really I know a little. I don't know a lot. I'm learning, and but what I do know, I enjoy sharing, and if I can help, that's a good thing. So, okay, well, guys, I need to get some lunch and go park that telescope before I forget and it ends up bouncing. Uh, I think we all did get hooked on the moon. I know I did, and I like to wet my pants when I saw it through a telescope. I went and got my wife, and I said, "You're not going to believe this." And I didn't have the telescope connected, so it wasn't tracking. And so I said, "You look through this. You know, it's going to blow your mind." And she said, "There's nothing there." I said, "You have to. You're just not looking right." And I looked, and there wasn't anything there. And that's when I realized that's what this bottom thing's for. I kind of knew that, but I didn't think it was going to move that fast. But at any rate, um, stop the calls. Anyway, guys, I will catch you later. I'm going to sign off. I hope you have a great rest of the day. I hope you have clear skies. And if you're not doing anything tonight, venture back on this YouTube channel because I intend to boot up around 8:30 and start working on Andromeda with a wide field stellar view 65 EDQ on an Atlas Pro mount, and then on the Smith Cassegrain, I'm going to go back and forth from Jupiter to, well, I'll start off with Saturn because it's going to be higher in the sky, and then as soon as Jupiter shows up, I'll start taking some images of Jupiter, and I'll probably process those in WinJuPost and show you. A lot of people don't know how to use WinJuPost, and so I want to do some videos on WinJuPost. So catch you guys later. Thanks for coming on board, and I enjoyed your comments. Have a tremendous rest of the day.